Hello, everybody. If you are joining us live, I want you to share this live right now. This is just so exciting. Come on, share. Come on in, people. Share it, share it, share it. Share it to your page. Invite your friends. If you have a young girl with you right now, pull up a chair and come and watch this right now. I am just so excited about today and this opportunity to launch. Girl, you can do it too. Okay. I'm just excited about this because this has just been a passion of mine, creating a platform where young women can see older or professional women who are in a place that they want to be, right? I think I was just talking with my friend LeLoni, who I'm going to introduce in a second, but we we're just talking about, how growing up, we had these dreams, these aspirations, but we didn't have the people, I guess, in our surroundings to really tell us, hey, this is the step that you need to take, someone who we can look at as a mirror to follow, and by the grace of God, we're here, we're working hard, doing what we need to do. But if we can provide, opportunities, provide advice so that other women don't have to go through turbulent processes like we have been going through or have been through, it will make it so much easier for us. That's what sisterhood is all about. It's providing a platform and helping others to get to their destiny, to progress their legacy. And so I'm just so excited today to introduce my friend, LeLoni Smith. Oh my gosh. So LeLoni is just simply amazing. I called her and I was like, hey, I have this idea. Would you be willing to do this? And she was like, absolutely, yes. And that's just so important to have friends who surround you, who push you to your purpose, who encourage you through everything. And so I'm going to introduce her and then we're going to get going, talking a little bit. So LeLoni was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands and raised outside of Atlanta. And she developed a passion for television at a young age. She studied digital broadcast journalism and Romance languages, 2 degrees, y'all, at the University of Georgia. Go Bulldogs. And then she moved to Los Angeles in 2015. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But after talking with a few recruiters for the company, LeLoni started at Netflix in September 2018 in the original documentary films department as a creative assistant. LeLoni is currently still working with Netflix and developing documentaries for the world. Let's put our hands together for LeLoni.
Wow, what a wonderful intro, kind of. Love
Of course, like you're amazing. You know this. So I've known you for years, right? Since middle school, but we got a lot closer in high school. And I remember, just in high school, you were just always energetic, always talkative. You always had a passion for just giving news to people, whether it was shade and gossip or it was just relevant news. We're going to keep it cute. But I remember we were in college, our senior year, and you called me and you're like, kinda, I'm moving to LA. And I was like, what? And, there was some silence on the phone. I was like, why are you moving to LA? You're moving so far. Like Atlanta has entertainment and popping. And you were like, no, like I prayed about it. I feel like this is what God called me to do. And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to move. And I was like, it's expensive. They're like, I was just coming up with all these things for you not to leave me here in Atlanta. And you were just like, no, like, this is just what I got to do. So just talk about your journey a little bit and, how you took that step of faith into the current career path that you're on now.
Yeah, well, one, I'm so excited to be here and kind of is doing such an amazing, amazing thing. And any way I can bless people with my little 2 cents, I'm always happy to do that. So my path and story is interesting. Like you mentioned, since I was at the age of 10, I knew I was wanting to work in TV. Like that was never up for debate. I was always on our local school TV shows giving the news. I would send text messages telling people school's closed this morning because I would be up at 5 a.m. So that was just the type of young girl I was. So when I went to college, I continued, giving news and information. And so when I graduated a semester early, I kind of wanted to use that time to figure out what my next move is. And I had this big interview with Cox Media Group in Atlanta, where I could have been put in Ohio or Florida. And it was a long, lengthy process of interviews. And I figured I was going to get something because I was a finalist. But I actually found out, it was March of 2015. And it was actually the same day that one of my best friends passed away. And they all sort of, information of me not getting a job and my best friend passed away brought me to a very, very low point because I was confused. You know, I'm a person that plans, type A personality. I'm like, you graduate, you get a job. And I just was not getting a job. I tried looking for something in Atlanta, couldn't find anything that really stood out. And so I remember just crying out to God, like, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm so confused. I've lost my friend. I've lost control. I literally do not know what to do from here. And I heard a very distinct voice that says, you need to move to LA. And at first I thought I was hallucinating because I was like, okay, maybe I didn't hear it right. Come again.
Right. We all thought you were hallucinating.
You gotta clean your ear a little bit. Okay, try again. He said, move to LA. And at first I kind of didn't want to listen because I said, well, LA is expensive. You know, I have no family out there. It was one of those things where it was so much bigger than me. To take that leap of faith would have been huge. And I'm only 20. I was only 21 at the time too. So that's a lot on a 21-year-old's shoulders.
Yep, it is.
So I tried to apply, and then I remember I went to church and I just had the come into Jesus moment. And he's like, you have to move to LA. And everything just felt like it was going to be all right. I had this feeling that if I go there, I'm going to be okay. And so I started making the phone calls. I kind of was one. And I just told everybody, I said, I got to do it. I don't know what it is, but when God tells you to move, you got to move. And so, I ended up moving to LA in May 2015, and I had such an interesting journey, and I can go into some of the details.
Yeah, so, I mean, just talk about, I think the breaking point in you deciding to choose your career path. So you in your mind, you're like, yes, I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to pursue my dreams. But I know you didn't immediately start working for Netflix once you got to LA. So talk about that beginning stage, that grind that you had to take to start. Like when you told me your first job, I was just like, that's not entertainment at all. And with our generation, it's like, we have this idea of, we want to work for this company, and we think immediately as soon as we get there, we're going to start working there, and that's not what happened. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, one, I had to humble myself because I knew that I was not going to go to LA and work at Netflix. Like, that's just not one of the things, it might work out for some people, but like you mentioned earlier, we didn't have the same resources or connections. So I'm starting ground up. So before, I mentally prepared myself. I said, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go out there, you're going to have to work, make your money to pay your bills, but also you need to work and network, which is a whole other job in itself. So when I moved to LA, the first job I had was a receptionist at the European Wax Center. It paid my bills.
Listen, so thank you.
That was my job in the daytime. But at night, what I would do is I was applying to entertainment jobs all the time, like 15, 20 applications a week. I was emailing people on LinkedIn. I was looking up IMDb Pro. I was trying to network, UGA alum, and just try to do what we call drinks in the entertainment industry. You go out and you just really just have a conversation with people in the industry. I was doing that like every week, just trying to put myself out there, trying to get tips. And so I'd worked different jobs. I had different interviews. After the European Wax Center, I ended up quitting because that was an interesting job, and we'll say that and leave it at that. Leave it at that. And I worked at UCLA as in the graduate department, sort of as the admin assistant, which was very interesting because I was an RA and an undergrad at UGA. So that's kind of what helped me get the job. And I was there for a few months doing the same thing. It paid my bills, but again, networking. And all the while I was applying for jobs at Entertainment Tonight, TMZ, like big name jobs where I was just interviewing and I kept getting no. And during this whole time, I remember at one point, maybe about 3-4 months after me moving to LA on a nickel and a dime, dollar and a dream, as people like to say, I just had this moment where I was like, God, you told me to come out here. I'm getting so many no's. Like,
Yep.
are you sure? Did I hear you right? I'm
Mhm.
just checking because this is hard, you know. And this is why it's so important to have people in your corner, because I would call my mom and I said, Mommy, I don't know if I made the right decision. She said, if God told you to move, he will not disappoint you. So you just keep doing what you got to do and you will see, you will be blessed in the end. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, all right, Mommy, you know better than me. And
We
then
love mommy. Yes.
no, no, really, because you need people. Because if you're out there by yourself and you get in no's, it is a lot. That is a lot to
Mhm.
deal with.
Mhm.
Um, but then after 7 months of me doing a whole lot of grinding and networking, I ended up working at Warner Brothers in
Mhm.
their client relations department, which was a really good sort of business side of entertainment. And I was like, however you can get my foot in the door, Lord, I'll take it. And that
Yeah.
is when my career sort of started.
That's powerful. I think one thing to realize is like on your journey, right? You had a lot of no's, right? But all you needed was one yes, right? That one yes to really put you in the door, put you in the room, right? Because like once I get into the room, I can be able to make connections with who I need to make connections with, and I think that's so powerful. Like I think just growing up in our generation, we don't like no. Like when we hear
Mm-mm.
no, we're just like, okay, well, I'm not gonna do it. This probably isn't for me. And I know we will be on the phone and you be like, kinda, I'm going to another job. And I'm like, you just got to this job. Where are you going next? And you like, this is how it works. This is how this system or the entertainment industry works. Like I gotta keep moving because I gotta make connections. I gotta build. And that's just powerful. When you're building, you have to be okay with getting that no and say, okay, what's next. So you have these no's and you're working hard to get to Netflix, get to where you want to be. Can you talk us through just some of the highs and lows? So what was the lowest point you felt like during your journey, and how did you learn from that low point?
Well, one of the lowest moments was me before I started my career, just, getting all those no's. But once I did start, I mentioned I was at Warner Brothers and
Mhm.
I was glory to God. I was praising and said, thank you, Jesus. I just needed an inch and I was going to jump in.
Yeah.
But when I think it had been a year, maybe even 8 months, and I stayed there and I was like, this is not what I was called for. It was one of those
Mhm.
things where it just, I mean, they were paying me well. There were perks. You're on a studio lot, nice coworkers, but I just felt kind of limited. Like I felt like this
Mhm.
isn't what is fulfilling my purpose. And so for me, it was one of those things where it started to get exhausting and I started feeling discouraged because I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I also don't know where to go from here. Because what's hard in the entertainment industry is getting in, but the and harder point is once you're in, where do you go to next? Because
Wow.
now you're in your career, you got
Right.
it, you got the door, but your next decision will help influence your career. So I put a lot of pressure on myself, like, whatever you do next, you got to really like it because, now
Wow.
you're in it.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I think like, we get so comfortable sometimes and we're like, okay, I've arrived. But then when you get comfortable, that's kind of scary, like you have all these perks. You got the money, you go into these parties, we see you on red carpets and all this stuff, but you're like, wait, like I prayed for this, but this is not really hitting me. And so some people will stay there because they're like, I got this check, I'm good, right? But what's that driving force, do you feel like? What's that thing that pushes you to be like, you know what, this is not enough. Like this is not what I want to do. So you go to Warner Brothers, you're like, this is not what I want to do. So what was that thing that pushed you felt like?
So a few things. One, my faith, because again, like I said, just conversations with God, and I'll get to a point where I'm like, I don't know, God, what do I do next? Because this doesn't feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose, but
Mhm.
also just sort of my passion. Because I'm one of those people that just feel like if I'm going to go to work, I want to truly enjoy what I'm doing,
Yes,
and
you
I
want to
want to
wake
just,
up happy.
like I want to enjoy it so it doesn't feel like work. So
Yeah.
for me, it started to feel like work. And I was like, well, it's time for me to go because now I can't say, and kind of knows because I would job hop. I was the friend in the group that would have a different job every 3
That's
4
okay
months.
though. We don't judge you. We love you. Just
They
get us
couldn't keep up.
tickets to the Oscars, you know.
Right.
But yeah, like, and it's crazy because there are some adults, right? Just removing young women from it. There are some adults who are really trapped in a job. You know, it's paying, you know, for their lights to stay on and everything, but they're not happy. They're not
Yeah.
loving what they do. And so, even though you were moving a lot, you're just so admirable. I was just like, wow, LeLoni is really chasing after her dreams. And now you're here at Netflix, but this is not the end. So talk about how do you're in this place right now. How are you planning to really get to what you feel is the ultimate of your dream job or your dream career? What does that look like? What is LeLoni? What's going through your head right now? What is your daily moves looking like when you're on the job? How does that work?
So one, I feel like God makes no mistakes, and I was put in the right place at the right time. Like sometimes I have to remind myself that I work at the biggest entertainment company on the planet. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and it's one of those things where I have all these resources. I literally have a platform that is that has a global audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also work in a department that creates the content that goes to the global audience.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just to continue, keep grinding. Netflix is full of so many opportunities. One of the things I'm constantly working on is trying to develop my own things. So can't say too much, but you know, in the future, don't be
Mm-hmm.
surprised if you see EP with my name on it on a documentary.
I'm
That is my
yes.
that is one of the things that I'm working towards. And yes, Netflix has its own ladder of sort of management that you
Mm-hmm.
can climb as well. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, one of the ultimate goals is to really just use God gave me this platform. So for me to just come up with content that can inspire, enlighten, and you know, change people. So
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things I'm working on now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's driving me to that every day.
That's great. And so here you are and you're planning and you have a vision in place. Will you
Mhm.
say there is someone, you might not know them, but is there someone that you kind of look up to? Because, you know, my dad has always talked to us about like if you want to get to somewhere, try to find someone who's in that arena already and just kind of copy them, right? Or not copy them, but see the moves that they're making and kind of learn from them from afar, glean from them from afar. Is there a specific person that you kind of, I maybe not now, but before when you decided to embark on this, is there a specific person that you looked at and said, I wanna do something like that? Or in your mind, you're just like, you know what? I'm just different. I've tailored my dream in a different way. I'm just going to kind of roll with the punches and kind of learn as I go.
I would say I eventually turned into a person that rolled with the punches and just
Yeah.
make my own path. But
Mhm.
growing up, Oprah Winfrey was like my biggest. You
I
couldn't tell me
know.
I was gonna be the next Oprah. I said,
Oh,
I am Oprah's child. You know, if she needs an adoptee, I am
I'm
here.
here.
You know, I'm here to continue the legacy. Oprah was everything. I would
I
come home
know.
from
Yeah.
school, watch the talk shows, live and breathe Oprah, just her journey, her path, and how she, you know, is just a multi-millionaire, and just all she has television shows, magazines, just she was so versatile. And I always wanted to be multifaceted in that sense too. Like, don't
Mhm.
just limit yourself into sort of one sphere, but once you go into the industry and you start to learn people and learn different departments, then you sort of open your eyes and start to find a, you know, a more comforting area that is more
Yeah.
appealing to you. So for me, you know, I still love Oprah, and if she's looking for an adoptee, I'm still here.
Yes,
But it's
Oprah.
one of those
We're
things.
here.
But yes, we are here. It's one of those things where I've kind of I've with time I've learned that everybody's path is different. There's no way you can compare your path to someone else's because you don't know what that person went through, and that's just not what's destined for your life. So I
Mhm.
kind of just focus on me, focus on myself. I have people to fill me up in my corner and I just keep moving. Otherwise, not compare myself to other people.
Mm-hmm. That's just so great. I'm just so happy you're here and just shedding light and providing advice to these young women. And so, as I said earlier, you got your degree from
Degrees.
university. Degrees, plural. You always correct me.
Listen, I worked hard for it.
Listen, and graduated early. So thank you for correcting me. Degrees from UGA, University of Georgia. And, I think, I guess my next question is, do you think there's an unconventional or conventional route in how to get into entertainment? You have your degree. So I'm sure that there are pros to having the degree. I'm sure your institution taught you how to communicate in a way that others aren't able to, or network in a certain manner when you enter into these rooms. But do you feel that it's okay not to go to college and take a different approach to getting into entertainment? Or do you feel like education is really important to getting into that arena?
Now, that's a great question. And for me, I absolutely love UGA. I give them a big credit to a lot of things that I've learned
Mm-hmm.
in my career and just life lessons as well too. So I cherish that, but I also realize that that's not for everybody, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
One of the many blessings about entertainment is that everyone has a different path and different story. I mean, you'll find people that probably started off in law school and then they decided they wanted to be a producer, or they were in med track and then they're like, I want to be a director or a writer.
Mm-hmm.
So not one path is the same. And if you don't do the college route, that's fine, because in this industry, it's all about who you know, which applies to many other industries. You can,
Yeah.
as long as get your foot in the door, you're an assistant to somebody on a studio lot and work your way up, you could probably get away with not going to school. I don't think that's a huge requirement. I think it depends on the person and their network and circle and how hard they're willing to work.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And so, like, this is so good. I'm so excited. So, we have a couple more minutes. And so, what do you feel is the biggest lesson that you've learned through navigating this process? And to our audience out there, if you all have any questions, feel free to just comment below and we'll try to answer some of those. But what do you think is the biggest lesson that you've learned so far just going through this process?
So for me, I remember when I was at UGA and I was studying digital broadcast journalism, it was one of those things where they prepared me to be a news reporter at a local news station, but I always wanted to do a little bit more lighthearted, TV talk show, different type of
Yeah.
things. And so for me, I always had this pressure that, oh my God, whatever job I start, I have to stay there for like 2-3 years, because you can't leave a job. You have to commit, even if you don't like it. And so I had that mentality sort of when I went to LA. But after being in entertainment and networking with people, I sort of learned and realized that if you don't like something, you can just leave. Like it is that simple. The
It's
whole
simple,
pressure,
yeah.
the pressure of being like, oh, I have to stay at this company for 2 years. I am a living testimony. You do not have to do that. If it is not if you're not happy there, if you don't feel like that's what your calling is, then leave. Like, try different things, and it's okay. It's okay to try something and fail. It's okay to stay somewhere for 2 months and then go to another job. It's okay to stay somewhere for 2-3 years. Whatever is
Mm-hmm.
your flow, whatever you feel comfortable with, but just try different things, and don't feel like you're trapped, because you're not, because there's so many options within
Mm-hmm.
this industry and just in life in itself. So for me, the biggest lesson I learned was just being comfortable with chasing happiness in any form that it comes.
Yeah, and I think that's powerful because we've been taught to stay in it and stick it out, right? Now,
Right.
if it gets hard, we're not saying, oh, you have one bad day and just up and quit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yep.
There's a difference. Like, you have to stay and work hard and do what you have to do. There's going to be highs and lows, but as long as you're happy where you are, right? It's different. But if you feel like you're in an abusive workplace, or you just don't find happiness in what you're doing, you feel like there's a lot of corruption, you feel like you can be doing something to really further the brand or your own brand, or further the company in a more positive light, then by all means leave. You know what I'm saying? Because you cannot function if you're drained, if you're physically drained, spiritually drained, emotionally drained. If you're not functioning how you need to, then of course take that break and go to the next thing that you feel is going to feed that passion, that desire. So I'm just so proud of you to just be like, you know what, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to move to the next thing, right? And it's not like you left and said I'm done. You said, no, I'm going to something bigger and better, right? It's taking those steps, right? And so we have a question from Zoe, and she asks, do you feel there's an age cap for when you should start in the industry? That's a great question.
That is an excellent question.
Yeah.
That's very, very good question. For me, no, because when I started, like I said, I started at 21, and I was running into people that were in assistant positions with me that were 33. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But the more time I spent in the industry, I realized that, because I mentioned earlier, everyone's path is different. Some people might have been pre-med or med track, and then they just decided at 30, I want to be a writer. And so that's what they did. And they went out and they became a writer. So you'll find in LA and even in Hollywood in general, a lot of 30 something people that are just getting their career started. And that's perfectly normal. And I don't think there is an age gap. You could be 40, you could be 50. I mean, get it how you can. It's I feel like one of the blessings of this industry is that there is no direct path. And because of that, everyone is sort of, loose and welcoming. And as long as you're ready to humble yourself and start from ground up, you can start anytime, any place, anywhere.
That's great. In some industries it's not like that, but for that specific industry, I can see that. You have some people who started acting at a really old age and then they get an Oscar. You're like, whoa, like, and it's like, because that was their purpose. That's what they were called to do. So it just comes easily, right? Like when it's your purpose and what you've been called to do, you just can just get in it and get it done. And someone might try to copy you and do it, but they can't do it like you because you are an original. Oh, yes. Yes, another question. Do you think Atlanta offers the same opportunities as LA or New York? We've had this discussion before.
I know.
Because I'm like, when are you moving back? Like, I have to call you. You're 3 hours behind. I'll be tired on the phone. Like, when are you moving back to Atlanta?
I have my own. The blessings about LA is the scenery. It's sunny. You got the hills, the mountains, and the valleys. But aside from that, if you're just talking industry wise, I think it depends on what you want to do. We all acknowledge Atlanta as Black Hollywood, which is excellent. A lot of Black actors can really, step their game up, because Tyler Perry has sort of created this wonderful sort of atmosphere.
He has. He really has. Yeah.
Which is great. But like I said, it depends on what you're trying to do. So Atlanta is nowhere near LA or New York because, for one, all of the major studios are in LA. You got, Warner Brothers, Universal, Netflix, Fox, all of them are based in LA. What New York has is they have a lot of production companies as well, not major studios, but then they also have a lot of night talk shows. So a lot of stuff are based there. A lot of productions happen there. A lot of people that are hired to work in Atlanta come from LA or New York. So
okay,
it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be on-screen talent and you're in Black Hollywood, that's perfect. If you're into marketing, I think Atlanta is great for that too. But if you don't really know what you're trying to do, or you don't know where exactly to start, LA or New York will probably be a better bet because they have an abundant amount of options.
Yeah.
There are jobs that people get paid for that I didn't even know you could get paid for. So it's one of those things where it depends on where you are. Like if you want to work behind cameras, you can get a job here in Atlanta. If you want to work in front of a camera, you can get a job here. But if you're trying to be more of a producer or work in a studio, then I would say New York or LA. So it depends.
Yeah, and it's amazing, like even the fluidity of it all, like how you can just kind of move around a little bit. It's fantastic. And so I didn't know that, how LA and New York kind of different, but just looking at the two states, you can tell one that's more, news heavy versus entertainment. So that's really interesting. Melody has a question. She says, from someone who is also a super planner, what do you do if things don't go according to your plan?
Ooh, Jesus, I had that whole trial.
Is it?
I'm still in the trial. Yeah, even within my job now, I had this plan, after 2 years where I would be at. And God said, humble yourself, because whatever position you are in now is preparing you for where you're going to next. So I am a planner, and God knows I love to plan, but it's one of those things where it is great to plan. It's great to, have things line up. But at the same time, you also have to humble yourself and be okay with not always being in control or things going exactly when you want them to happen. So I've kind of, because I've been in the industry so long, it's kind of like one of those, I'm at the point now where, yes, I have many plans, but I'm okay if they don't hit the deadline that I want them to hit, because again, I'm not the one in control and it's not my timing. I'm just going to continue to do my part and humble myself and trust in the Lord.
And it's amazing because I feel like through this journey of just, working hard, trying to get that dream accomplished, you have to learn how to be nice to yourself and be easy on yourself. Like, we could be our worst critics and we could be so abusive to ourselves. Like, okay, it didn't go how you wanted it to go, but God's plans are greater, like you said, and so be nice to yourself, be easy on yourself, know that his plans are greater than your plans. And so you're at this job right now and the pandemic happens. And this kind of aligns to a question my dad has in the chat. How has the pandemic, COVID, affected you feel not only your personal work life in LA, but how has it, do you feel, affected the entertainment industry as a whole? And does it still like make you feel secure and like, yeah, this is where I need to be?
That is a great question. And this is another reminder for myself to humble myself, because Netflix is doing better than ever. This pandemic,
And
Netflix
they increased their little plan prices. I was like,
we wasn't even gonna bring all of that up, but we appreciate the customers. But it's one of those things where Netflix was really built for the pandemic. So as a company, we've had, and we hit 200 million subscribers, which was really, really big for us. So thank you to everyone who is part of the Netflix fam. But it was one of those things where, as a company, we're blessed because we were already equipped for it. So even though this happened, we always, I had my own computer from home that has all the calendars, all our meetings, everything, documents are online. So we never needed to physically be in the building to continue making the content and stuff from home. So we were in a very blessed position, because again, we have stuff that is prepared 2 years in advance. So for us, it's one of those things where I'm blessed because I have a job. I kept all my benefits. I still got all my checks. Like, I was in a very comfortable position. But again, it was business sort of as usual, because we're still working. It's like we still do the hours, regular time. But the industry as a whole, even Netflix to a certain extent, production has been halted in a lot of cities around the world, and we are a global company. Some countries it's fine to film, other countries it's not. So not only Netflix, but studios and movies and a lot of the industry is sort of taking a hit because of production being halted. So if you can't produce the content, that sort of slows everything down with, unless there are other sort of ways you can kind of create content, whether it's through acquisitions. But I would say as a whole, the industry has found sort of, ways to work around it. We still did have some production going on during COVID, very safe, COVID regulated, all that good stuff, which helped release a lot of the things on the platform. But I would say as a whole, the industry is taking a bit of a hit. Some companies are figuring ways to keep shooting. Some movies have been put on hold because of COVID. But all in all, we're truly blessed. Like I can't I'm not even in a position to even complain or say, mentally COVID, I would say the hardest part for me was just working from home because I am a person that's always on the go, kind of knows this. President's Day weekend is coming up. I would have already been in another country just
Yeah.
planning my next trip. So for me, mentally, it's one of those things, but I felt like, again, this was all part of God's plans, and we are in a position right where we're supposed to be. And this was the first time where I really got to like sit down and dedicate more time to prayer and figuring out what I need to work on myself and my career. Like, what do I need to just really shifted focus? The pandemic just completely shifted focus. It was able to open my eyes to my career, to family. And so it's a blessing and a curse, all in all, business wise and personal wise.
Wow. Yeah, I think just listening to your story, knowing you personally, it's just powerful to see the importance of pivoting, rolling with the punches. When you fall, you brush yourself off, you get back up again, and you say, "Okay, God, what's next? What's the next challenge? I've learned from this. I can use this to better myself, to propel myself to go to the next step." And so I know with this pandemic, I think it it impacted everyone,
Yeah.
just on the level of, okay, how can I pull myself out of this? How can I get better? How can I use my platform or this job? I think it really reawakened people's dreams and ideas, to really be like, okay, I can't really depend on this job only, right, to support me. I got to pursue this thing that I've been called to do. And so as we kind of end tonight, I'm just so happy that you agreed to do this. But as we end tonight, what are just some tips that you could give young women tonight on how to pursue their goals or to essentially get into the entertainment industry? Or, I'm sure it could be applicable to just life in general.
Yeah. So one, I think you start with yourself. You are, just praying, being steadfast in what you believe in is the first start. And once you go there, then have people in your corner, in your circle to really pour into you, because you're going to get, you're going to encounter a lot of no's, a lot of rejections. You might start second guessing yourself. So it's so important to have people in your circle to reassure you and in your purpose.
Mhm.
So that's really big. So having people in your circle, networking, which I think applies to just all companies, industries,
Yeah.
especially in entertainment. It is so important to network. I used to stalk LinkedIn. Like, I would look up people on LinkedIn. I would
Yep.
look up IMDb, because if I would watch a show, right, I'd watch a TV show or an award show. So I would look up the credits and I'd say, okay, so who's the producer? And I'll look up the producer's name. Then I will look up the producer's credits and be like, oh, I like what they did. Let me see if I can snag their email. And so I would find their email and I would shoot my shot. And I would
Yeah.
shoot my shot every week, just being like,
Mhm.
hi, I saw your work. I'm trying to break in. I would really love to hear, your path. If you have any tips or advice for me, be
Mhm.
great. And I would say half the time people responded back and were willing to just get on the phone or meet up for tea, coffee, breakfast, whatever, and just talk about themselves and their path. And then afterwards, you've built that connection. So
Yeah.
network, network. Um, and yeah, just keep pushing. Networking is the biggest thing, but yeah, I would say making sure you're steadfast, you have a circle, and networking are two of the biggest things.
Well, I just want to thank you, LeLoni, for joining us tonight. Can you let the people know where they can find you? Now, don't go stalking her page, asking her, hey, can you get me a
Yeah,
I mean, by all means, but feel free to reach out to her if you need any advice, any questions. Can you let us know your information, all that good stuff, your Instagram, Facebook, if you have that?
yes, I am on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as LeLoni D. That's LeLonidee. And you can DM me and ask any questions you like, and I'm always happy to help. And kind of, I just want to say thank you to you for having me and just
Of
creating a
course.
platform for women to just have a moment to be inspired and share, our little 2 cents. Because again, we never had this, so
Yeah.
any little thing counts. You'd be surprised how much you can learn just by listening from different people.
Yeah, well, thank you so much again, LeLoni. If y'all are out there watching, put some claps in the chat. You know, we're gonna be doing this more often. We have a lot of awesome people coming to talk via live. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we are having engineers, real estate developers. All like it's just gonna be powerful. If you want to be an interviewee, feel free to inbox us, message us, and we'll be more than happy to just have this chat, you know, and provide a space for young women to be cultivated and learn about different careers, learn about lifelong goals, how to establish goals, how to plan, all these awesome things. Again, thank you, LeLoni. And I want you to know that, girl, you can do it too. Join us again next time, right here, same time, same place. Invite your friends, invite your aunties, invite your uncles. Spread the word out. We are live and we just are so happy. I'm just so happy. I'm so humbled. Thank you, LeLoni, again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. And we will see y'all next time.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.